Hello, here we are. I'm spinning a yarn on a cold afternoon. I'm taking sheep's fleece and turning it into yarn which I can knit with. So we're now about to start spinning another type of yarn. This is a story which is also a yarn. So this is a story about spinning. Very, very important lesson here. How do you get your husband to do what it is that you would like him to do? Many years ago, there was a king who had 3 daughters. And of course, he loved them very much. But he also loved fine clothes. He loved fine linen. He loved fine linen shirts. And of course, as you know, and I know, and everyone else knows, linen is spun from flax. And then it's woven into fine cloth. And the king's daughters did a lot of his spinning for him. They took the flax, which was very much like straw, and they spun it into yarn, into thread. And there came a day when the king was called to go off to a big meeting where very important men would sit around eating big dinners and talking about how important they were and trying to solve the problems of the world. And so, as the king was getting into his carriage and setting off for, I suppose, whatever they call it, the G8 summit would have been then, he said to his wife, "So the girls won't be bored while I'm away, I've had some flax delivered for them to spin for me." And the queen nodded and smiled and waved her husband a fond farewell, and off he went. So when the queen and the 3 princesses looked at the big pile of flax that they were going to be expected to spin, the 3 daughters said, "If we spin all this flax for father, we won't have any time for riding our ponies and making music and telling stories and doing all the things we really like to do." And their mother said, "Leave it be." So the following day, 3 messengers were sent out. And after some time, each of the messengers returned, riding a fast horse, and with him had a really, really, really old lady. And not only were they old women, but they were very ugly women. And when the king returned, seated outside the castle, working away at their wheels, only they weren't quite like this because they were spinning, they weren't spinning fleece, but never mind, you get the general idea. Working away at their wheels were the 3 old, ugly ladies. And the king got down from his carriage and he went to the first lady and he said, my dear, I can't help but notice that you have a very large, swollen right hand." And the woman said, Your Majesty, your Majesty, it's from all these years of spinning. I have been a spinster for a long time, and all this spinning, it's made my hands swell like this." And the king nodded and carried on to the next lady. And he said, my dear, I can't help but notice that you have a big swollen lip. And the lady said, it's from licking. To join the flax, I lick my finger and it's made my lip swell. And the king nodded. And he walked on to the third woman and he said, my dear, I can't help but notice that your right foot is very swollen. And she said, my dear, your Majesty, it's from the spinning. All these years I've been earning my living by spinning. Treadling away with my foot, and it's made my foot swell like this. When the king went into the castle and kissed his wife hello, said, have you seen them? Have you seen those 3 old women sitting outside? I had no idea. That was what spinning did to people. We'll never find husbands for our daughters if they develop swollen hand and a swollen foot and a swollen lip. Ever. You'll have to tell them. You'll have to tell them that they'll have to stop spinning. The Queen nodded and said, I think you're right, dear. So, of course, the 3 princesses pretended to be quite distressed, but of course, secretly they were delighted. And in later years, when they themselves married, they knew exactly how to steer their husbands to get them to do what they most wanted them to do. So, doubtless, they had long and happy marriages. Spinning a yarn. I am planning to make I'm planning to make a video about spinning, actually. This is my wheel. This is a Hebridean double band drive wheel, which I like because it looks like a traditional spinning wheel. But of course, modern wheels are quite different. Some of them are designed to fold up so that you can carry them around with you much more easily. There you are. Subscribe to my channel, check it out, because there will be a video coming up about how to take sheep's fleece and turn it into a yarn, turn it into a thread, and how to knit it up into lovely thick warm woolly jumper. You can't beat lovely thick warm woolly jumpers and blankets and all the rest of it. It's a very cost-effective hobby, actually, because to buy 100% sheep's wool is really expensive, but to buy a fleece, I'll let you into another secret here. You shouldn't pay more than about £5 for a complete sheep's fleece, and one fleece is roughly, I mean, depending on the size of the sheep, depending on the size of the jumper, but a fleece is normally enough for a jumper. And a lot of farmers and farm parks are really happy to sell you fleece, but do go for the rare breeds, go for the old breeds. There we are. Anyway, come back and learn about spinning and learn about knitting, because it's a wonderful thing to do. And do remember, the really important lesson from that story. Lovely. See you again soon.